This is Alex with Cavallo Home Services. We're on site on a completed deck project and wanted to do a walkthrough video and show you the different components of the deck and how we built it. Now, this deck is located in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. It just passed final inspection, and I know that codes are different in a lot of places, but everything we talk about today is code here. I'd love to hear in the comments about how code may vary or certain things you can or can't do in your area. We're going to talk about how it was built, what the inspector looks for, and then the various different components and everything, and just how we did it. Let's get into it. So the first thing that you're going to have to do when you build your deck, you get your permit, right? You're going to need a building permit for this, and you're going to have to dig footer holes and have a footing inspection. A few things the footing inspector is going to look for. The main thing is depth. They want to make sure that your hole is dug to frost depth, whatever it is in your area. In our area, it's 30 inches, which is pretty reasonable. Depending on the tributary area, basically what that means is how much weight this post has to hold up, tells you what diameter hole this has to be. In most areas, they just give you a standard and tell you it's going to be 18 inches round. Actually, these were 20 inches square. The homeowner pulled the permit on this one actually, but I did review it before he submitted it. And he was like, is 20 inches good? And I was like, it's overbuilt, but they're going to give it the green light, which they did. I like the square look myself as well, so we did them square. I just framed it with a 2x6, just scrap lumber. But those do go down 30 inches plus the height of the 2x6. They're almost 36 inches of concrete and like 20 to 22 inches, of diameter in the bottom. So that's how we did it. It ended up being like just over 3 yards of concrete. We called the truck, wheeled it back here, and poured these. And then we attached the post with these 6x6 brackets and an anchor bolt. Use a 5/8 inch anchor bolt. This is a 1/2 because I didn't have any 5/8 left to show you. But yeah, 5/8 inch anchor bolt, pre-drill, put that bracket in, and then just drop the post in place. This is a relatively controversial topic within the deck building community, how the post is connected to the footer. So in this case, like I said, it's connected with the 6x6 bracket. The most common way to put in a footing, to put in a 6x6 post, is you dig your hole, pass footing inspection, and then you drop 2 or 3 bags of concrete in the bottom of the hole, let that cure, and then you drop your post on top. The issue with that is the post is in contact with the ground, and which means that it can hold moisture and it can rot. Now the thing is though, that is industry standard. So I really want to hear in the comments about how other guys are doing this, and most commonly we do it that way. But in this case, the client had the budget and they did want to do it with concrete piers, as I call this. But it all comes down to client budget, right? I always recommend doing it this way, but again, it's not always in the budget. This is a lot more concrete and it's a lot more labor, and it's just generally more expensive. All right, so we're talking about some framing details here. Now, this deck is not attached to the house. We're not even going to zoom in on the ledger board because it's not relevant. This is a freestanding deck. The house is made of engineered wood product, which means that you cannot attach the deck ledger to the house. There is no actual 2x nominal lumber inside the house to attach the deck to. So the deck is totally freestanding. So that means that's what this inside beam is for. If you have a ledger board, you may not need to do this beam right here, and you can just use your ledger board and then have the beam on the outside. So 2x10 joists, 2x10 beam, double 2x10 beam I should say, on these posts. It's going to come down to your local building code to figure out your spans. I'm not even going to get into spans because I could talk about it for hours. I have no clue what your spans are in your area. It's all based on international building code, so within reason they're hopefully the same, but different codes are going to be different in different areas. But basically what the inspector is going to look for during your framing inspection is just connection. They're going to want to see how your 6x6 posts attach to the beam. And you're probably at a weird angle there, but 2 through bolts through the post and to attach that. And then your joist to beam, they're going to want to see hurricane ties, which is what these little ties are with 10 nails in them per, and that's pretty much it. If you have a ledger board, they're going to also be looking at joist hangers just to make sure that these joists are hung correctly against the house. We have them on, but they're not, the inspector doesn't really look for those because again, we don't have a ledger board. All right, so another thing the inspector is going to look for is how your 4x4 railing posts are attached. They need to be attached through your rim joist, which is the outer rim joist here with 2 bolts. Now also in this area, in our jurisdiction, you have to use these, and these are called tension ties. Normal bolt, as if you would bolt through your rim joist. And then before you put the nut on the edge of the bolt, you just put this on, and it goes on like that. And then you're gonna be going into a joist, and you can attach it to the joist with these, let me show you this, these Simpson screws. These are like Simpson structural screws. They're attached through here, and then that's attached to the joist. So now supposedly these add a lot of strength, but I'm not gonna lie, these are only code in this jurisdiction. I've done decks all over Maryland. I've never been asked to do these except in Anne Arundel County. So I do have to say, I do find something fishy about that. I think like Simpson is like, I don't know, they're making a deal with somebody to sell more of their products, but this isn't code anywhere else. I wanna hear if it's code in your area if you have to do these. Now I'm not gonna lie, it probably does add a lot of strength, but being that this is the only jurisdiction where these are required, I have a lot of questions. But I'm allowed to disagree with code. I still have to install it the way code requires, so we did put it in. As you can see, threaded through that through bolt and then attached to the joist with those Simpson screws. One other thing that the inspector is going to look for is your stair stringers and how those are attached to the deck. They're most of the time going to look for, these are called stair stringer hangers. You can see that these attach to like the stair header board up here, and then they also attach to the bottom of the stringer and the side of the stringer to hold it in. Now we attach the stair header through the actual upper stair railing post and through bolted it. This is way above code. I don't even know if other guys do it like this, but it's bolted here, I know you can't see it, but it's bolted on the other side of the railing too, to give you a flat surface to attach your stair stringer hanger. And then once you screw that in, you do the same thing for all these stair stringers, and then you're gonna be good to go. Now one thing I do when you have a staircase that has an intermediate railing post, meaning the post in the middle of the stairs, I will actually have that post continue down through the ground and also go into a footer. And this is way above code, which is why I didn't put this on a concrete pier, because you don't even need any of this structure to even begin with. I just do it because it just adds a ton of strength. But what I'll do is I'll have this post drop down, I'll have the same thing on the other side of the staircase that's against the house in this case, and then I will put this double 2x10 beam and sandwich that post and through bolt it. Now normally a beam, you're not allowed to through bolt like this. If it were to be an actual deck supporting beam, just being the staircase and it being so far above code, the inspectors don't even, for me, they don't even look at it, because they know you don't even need this at all to begin with. So this entire structure here is just well above what you actually need, but it does add a ton of strength, because when you have a long run of stairs, you got to think, when you're cutting this stair stringer, you're cutting a 2x12, but when you're notching out for the tread and the riser, you only have, you know, 5.5 inches of lumber left. So even when these stairs are installed 12 inches on center, you really do not want those to bend or bounce in any way. So this beam here does add a ton of strength, and I just rip it down to the same angle as the staircase. In this case, the staircase was a 34-degree angle. Rip this board down to give me the same angle as the stringers, and then just put it underneath there like you would any other beam, and it supports the center of those stringers. All right, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about regarding the decking installation. One is just the decking fasteners. This is another very controversial topic, and I know that people are going to say something about this. I only use color matching face screws to install decking, even composite decking. And the reason for that is I've had problems with all the hidden fastener systems. Plugs is especially the worst. Plugs is good because they're strong. You still get a screw straight through the front, the face of the decking and into the joist, which is great. But the problem is, those plugs, a lot of times they expand and contract at different rates than the actual deck board. Sometimes they'll end up being a little bit high, even by that 1/16 of an inch, and it is very, very noticeable. Kills the illusion entirely. Plugs also collect dirt rings very easily. The deck is going to get dirty over time, and they collect dirt rings, makes them very, very noticeable. Like, let's say I put a plug right here. I've actually seen this crack out right here, this little space between the screw and the edge of the deck board. You get a crack there and the whole deck board fails. Now that's not going to happen with this decking because we use Owens Corning Wear Deck. Shout out. Decking doesn't get hot. I love this product. I'm not sponsored by them. The point is, this decking is not going to crack out. This decking doesn't get hot. This decking is not going to fill that way. But the plugs, again, the plugs are still a problem. The other option is clips. So you can do hidden fastener clips. And those are not horrible. The only reason I don't really like those is because they're barely biting the board. So you really only have a bite of the board by like that much. And also they don't add, remember underneath I was talking about lateral stability. If you have that, they don't have any lateral stability. Now it doesn't hurt to just add V-bracing in the other direction. If you want to just make up for that, it's just more bracing. But they don't add any strength and they're really barely hanging on. If I were going to do hidden fasteners, I would do clips, but I really don't like that system either. Then the other system is camo, which is the diagonal screw down through the side of the decking. Barely biting the decking. You're only biting on that little amount of decking. And if you're doing a composite decking, other than Wear Deck, like if you're doing a Trex, I guarantee you that corner is just going to crack right off. So that's not actually going to be doing anything. Really only works well with PVC, like TimberTech, advanced PVC, Coastline, that kind of stuff. It'll work, but again, you're barely biting that decking. So face screws is really pretty much the only other option. I think it looks great, honestly. If you zoom in, I mean, you have these flush with the top of the decking. It's identical colors to the deck board, and it's a lot of screws, but I do know that's going to be controversial. And every time I see Facebook posts about decking, everyone says they don't like face screws, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's pretty much all I do. I don't think any of the other hidden fastener systems are strong enough to withstand what a deck needs to withstand. So, and the other thing that I wanted to talk about, optimizing your decking length. So the decking is one of the most, if not possibly the most expensive material that you're going to buy when you build a deck. Besides, maybe the railing might be more expensive, but the decking is very expensive. And so you'd want to have very little waste. So by optimizing decking length, I just mean you want to minimize the amount of waste you have. So this deck, for example, is 28 feet. So the answer is simple. We did 16 foot, this is a 16 foot up board on this side. And then we do this perpendicular breaker board right here because you don't want to have a seam, you don't want to have butt joints. Perpendicular board, and then on this side's a 12 foot board. So it's a 16 and a 12. So we didn't have any scrap. Just trying to be as efficient as possible, and you want to cut off as little decking as possible. You really don't want to throw that stuff away because again, it's very expensive. Every foot of that decking matters. So try to optimize your decking length. Like if you had a 24 foot wide deck, you're going to do 2 12s. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your estimates, and if you're a homeowner, just when you're buying decking, when you're building. And then just wanted to talk about the railings. So these railings, white vinyl with white square balusters, these are actually engineered to meet code. And a lot of different brands make these, but they come in 6 foot and 8 foot lengths. They have aluminum inserts, so they're super strong, and they are made like, basically there's holes that are punched in the top and bottom railing, like you can see down here. So the spacing is already going to meet code. So everything about these and the height also. The balusters are cut to a certain height. So everything about these is going to meet code. So that's one benefit of using these. They are pretty expensive, but fast and relatively easy to install. And then also I like to put the deck board on top, just as like a drink rail, so people can put like a drink on that. And that's a very common detail. So the last detail that I wanted to talk about here, and the inspectors look for this for sure, is an ADA graspable handrail on your staircase railing. Again, this is also engineered. This is like called a return, ADA return. Comes in one piece, and then you have the actual ADA handrail. Comes in different lengths, 8 foot, 12 foot, 16 foot. And all you do is you just screw the return in, and then you put this in, cut it to length, and just screw it down here on this post, screw it into the top. Now this These actually come with caps to cover these screws, but the homeowner said that he was considering taking it out. Hey, listen, I already passed final inspection. I can't control what a homeowner does after I'm gone. My job is to pass final inspection, which is what I did. Homeowner said he may be interested in taking these out, so I didn't put the caps on because they're very, very hard to get off. But the point is, you have a graspable ADA handrail. Now, on the stair railing, I don't put a deck board on top. I think it's a weird detail. This, to me, if you want to actually come around right here, to me this is still graspable, right? This is called a T-top, I call it, and my suppliers call it, but I find this to be graspable, and we put that on both sides typically. Inspector, pardon me, does not find this to be graspable. They say it needs to be something, and I've read the code, I agree with it. They want to basically make it so you can wrap your entire hand around it, which this other handrail, it does. I definitely understand, but many homeowners don't like it. But you have to have it if you want to pass final inspection. That's going to be it for this deck project. Like I said, please leave a comment. I'm really interested to see how different people build in different areas and just, hear how you do things. And yeah, that's going to be it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.